Things will never be the same, but it's not all bad. Welcome to MojoTravels, and today we're discussing what travel will look like in a post-pandemic world.
Are you a fan of our videos? Be sure to subscribe to MojoTravels and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.
For this list, we're looking at how the travel industry, travel trends, and our relationship to travel overall will be changed by the pandemic that struck in 2020. No one can predict what the future will hold with 100% accuracy, but these are some of the key points that experts raise. Trip insurance will be a big priority. When most people shop for travel insurance, they usually seek out the cheapest option available. The logic is that you're extremely unlikely to need to use it. But as many people learned the hard way, when faced with an outbreak, a cheap safety net quickly disappoints. In the post-pandemic world, we expect to see a rise in cancel for any reason insurance, one of the few options that actually covers pandemics. Travelers will also likely be far more discerning about the provider they go with, paying close attention to the specifics of the policies, and opting to shell out more money for better protection. Discounts will be a large part of the recovery effort. The pandemic that hit in 2020 as it pertains to travel is unprecedented. Comparable outbreaks haven't been experienced on this scale since before we became such a globally mobile population. In the wake of 9/11, airlines responded by dropping their fares to counteract the fear of flying with rock-bottom deals. Given how far-reaching the effects of this pandemic have been, we can expect discounted rates across all aspects of the travel industry, from hotels and all-inclusives to theme parks. That being said, experts recommend looking for deals from reputable providers who offer the most value rather than the cheapest prices, as the pandemic has reminded us that discount carriers can easily fold and provide little customer protection. Cruise lines will face a drawn-out battle. While airlines will recover from the fallout of the pandemic, cruise ships will likely be in troubled waters for an extended period of time. Some of them might not make it out. Unfortunately, the nature of cruise ships is such that they are especially vulnerable to viral outbreaks. For this reason, travelers are going to be far more wary to sign up for this type of travel, not only due to the increased risk of transmission, but also because of how extremely unpleasant it is to be quarantined at sea in the event of a widespread outbreak. For the cruise lines that do survive, however, we may see them making drastic changes to their infrastructure in order to prepare for such events in the future, including dedicated quarantine sections of the ship. Countries least affected will be the most desirable destinations. The early days of renewed travel will likely see people being incredibly discerning about where they choose to visit. Among the first international destinations to attract visitors will be those that were least affected by the pandemic, or those that recovered the most quickly and have most successfully returned local life to its status quo. This could see the rise of new and unexpected "it" destinations. Here's the thing though, while these are the countries where people will most want to visit, given the correlation between international arrivals and transmission, closed borders and travel bans could impede such trips. A comeback for domestic travel. When we travel abroad, we inherently place ourselves in a more vulnerable position. When you're not a citizen of a country and international borders separate you from home, a crisis becomes twice as stressful. Add to that nations being hesitant about welcoming international visitors, and all signs point to domestic travel being the first type of trip people take. Pre-pandemic, relatively inexpensive flights had us traveling further and more frequently than ever before. But according to a Luggage Hero survey, 21% of American travelers plan to opt to keep their first trips in-country in the immediate wake of the pandemic. This is clearly going to be a huge trend. Minimal contact travel will be the starting point. People might feel comfortable traveling within their own borders, but don't expect them to be flocking to major cities anytime soon. Considering how hard New York City's been hit and the social distancing training we've all undergone, travelers are likely to remain wary of large crowds for the foreseeable future. As such, the earliest trips that people are most likely to take will be to remote and sparsely populated areas. Camping, day trips, national parks, boutique hotels in small towns, these are the sort of baby steps that travelers will be taking as they rebuild their confidence about venturing beyond home. And because so much time is spent indoors during a pandemic, we also expect nature to be a big draw in general. The duration of trips will change. This is one area in which the experts are divided. Some argue that because of the financial impact of the pandemic, travelers won't be able to journey as long as they previously did. Under this logic, the 2-week holiday is more likely to be cut down to 1 week. There's also a vulnerability factor. Travelers are likely to feel a bit ill at ease during their first trip or two post-pandemic. Shorter trips will almost serve as a reconditioning of sorts. By contrast, others are predicting that people will favor long-term stays over the frequent short trips that have become all the rage in recent years. The logic? Less time spent on planes and at high-risk places like airports. People will still want to travel. For all the fears and anxieties pertaining to travel that arise from a global pandemic, the reality is that the desire to see the world is stronger. For many, travel is and will remain a major priority and an essential tool for self-discovery and self-care. Yes, travel may be more difficult moving forward, including stricter borders and a greater preoccupation with traveler health, culminating in less freedom of movement on the global scale. But travel is an important economic driver and an extremely enriching cultural experience, and those factors will ultimately overpower our collective concerns. Even major tourist destination cities that have been hit hard like New York City, Rome, and Paris will recover with time. In the end, our wanderlust will win out, and hopefully, the lessons learned during this pandemic will make us better travelers.
Check out this other recent clip from MojoTravels, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.